Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I am John Palacio.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Yep, it is a lovely Wednesday morning, yet a little chilly.
Yeah, that cool is still in the air.
We still have that Christmas feel, and I'm so thankful that we've got some wonderful weather over our country. We should expect some moisture today, but we're not the pros.
No, we have been duly warned. We'll find out if that's changed at all. We have Crystal Rosales on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
Oh, I like the sound of that, Crystal. So John and I were saying that we were told ahead of time we should be expecting more moisture today. Is that still the forecast?
Yes. There is a gradual increase in moisture. So moist and unstable conditions are expected to set in today.
All right. So what does that mean for a 24-hour forecast?
Cloudy skies with isolated showers or periods of light rain, mostly offshore and over southern areas this morning, gradually increasing over most places this afternoon, along with some isolated thunderstorms tonight.
All right. So the whole country will probably be affected.
Yes.
Okay. Or winds?
The winds will be from the northeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the sea conditions will be moderate, becoming rough at times. So operators of small craft should exercise caution.
Okay. And or high temperatures. How warm is it going to get?
Today will reach 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 84 inland, and 72 in the mountain pine ridge.
All right. And tonight?
Tonight will be 74 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 70 inland, and 61 in the hills.
Okay, and so with the increase of moisture, what does that mean for the rest of the week?
Well, in the extended forecast, we're expecting a few showers and isolated thunderstorms scattered across the country Thursday and Thursday night. And we do expect moist conditions to continue throughout the rest of the week as well.
All right. But as much as today, or it'll be a bit less?
Well, tomorrow and Friday, we should see a bit more than today, and then Saturday and Sunday should be a bit less.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
You have a great day today. Or I should say, continue to have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys as well.
All right.
Thank you so very much. Clearly, she's having a good day, which of course is great. But like she mentioned, we should expect an increase in moisture today.
That's right. And hanging around for the next few days.
Wow. I know how that is, and especially with the onset of school being reopened. Oh my goodness.
You know, I would just imagine the trick is tell the kids they get to wear their rubber boots, and they'll probably be excited to go to school.
You wear rubber boots and your raincoat.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
The stuff you don't get to pull out every day, right? You know, kids, they get excited over that stuff.
I go through it a lot. My daughter, man, you could just have a puddle of water because somebody was washing a vehicle. She want to wear rubber boots.
You know, if it's a hot day and they want to wear the rubber boots, still let them too.
But that's the way it is as we continue on in our show for this morning. I like that. We've got our eye opener coming up next.
That's right. A bit of motivation for this morning. And of course, our eye opener is taken from dailyom.com. And it goes like this. Emotional pain is at the root of our tendency to withhold. And this causes pain to the people subjected to it. The most common form of withholding is what we commonly call the silent treatment. But withholding encompasses any unwillingness to express your true feelings. It also includes an unwillingness to give support, praise, or positive attention to the people you love. We have all known someone who is impossible to please, And many of us have suddenly found ourselves at the other end of a chilly silence with no explanation. At the same time, many of us will recognize our own tendency to withhold our emotions rather than express them. Most of us have seen both sides of the withholding dilemma. It is a dysfunctional pattern that creates a breakdown in communication and understanding. If, on the other hand, it is you that tends to withhold, understand that this is a learned response and it can be unlearned. Find safe places to begin to express all that you've been holding back. Begin to make an effort to say what you're feeling and thinking. Give praise to someone you love. The more you do this, the healthier you and your relationships will become. What was learned over a course of a life cannot be changed overnight. So remember, one day at a time.
I love it. I really and fully love it. The silent treatment, the big silent treatment.
You laugh with that one, huh?
Yeah, because everybody does it. I mean, we all do it. We all do it, but it becomes, for the most part, people look at it more of an ammo. It's more of an ammunition to create a little bit of hurt, or rather, this is how I feel about it. Create a little bit of hurt rather than for both parties to sit down and have a conversation about the situation. The more you do this, the healthier you in a relationship. I really and truly reckon with that part, because there is no need for it. There is no reason for it. I think that when we could sit down and understand each other, that's when it plays into the more you do that, the more healthier you and your relationship will become. And like it said here, one day at a time. And that is one of the things that folks should understand, that you take things a step at a time, and a step at a time comes at a day at a time. And if you could put yourself in that situation there, then I think you'd find more progress in you being a better person, you and your relationship working out, and for things to be rolling out the best way possible for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the issue is, and people always think the silent treatment is okay because you just, there's no conflict. But not only that, I think people are avoiding the conflict. And that's, for me, I think the source of the issue. Yeah. It is uncomfortable. We are not raised to talk about our feelings, especially here. Yeah. You're told to brush it off. You, especially as a male, would have been raised to say, don't make it bother you, just brush it off, just keep your head up. All these things that we say to kids and to each other. Rather than being able to equip ourselves with the skills of how to express difficult emotions, we hardly talk about what makes us happy. Even more so, we don't want to address what makes us sad or frustrated or angry, or when you've had your feelings hurt in some way. And so we respond by just not talking at all. Yeah. That way you'll know I'm upset. Yeah. Now, one of the trickiest things, or I think that the biggest trap of it, is that we assume when I give you the silent treatment, you just know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You're not a mind reader. None of us are. If anybody's fooled you to say they're a mind reader, they have done exactly that, fooled you. And the only way to really have a resolution to the conflict is being able to express it in a healthy way. And it does happen one day at a time. It does mean you have to be in an uncomfortable position to say, I feel. Remember that I feel statement from Jenny in communication skills?
Yes.
I feel when, because, and it's something you just have to practice. And it means really sitting in an uncomfortable chair and doing something that feels so out of character, but at least you'd be closer to having the issue not happening again.
Definitely.
Rather than leaving people to that guessing game of, they should know why I'm upset. I'm just not talking.
Perfectly said. One of the things that I think we should take away from it as well is...
I'm seeing some guilty faces
there'll be a
the
few.
camera
Definitely,
here.
there'll be a few. But funny you mentioned Jenny, because indeed that's the I feel, and it also works with using the stick. We say that
the talking stick.
Yeah, the talking stick. We do say that you know what, we're just not going to say anything, but actually nothing is resolved, and the situation reoccurs, and then there's another silent treatment. So if you do the this is the way that I feel, and you've got the talking stick as well, you resolve a conflict within the home. So there is no hostility within that home. There is more of a smile within that home. the relationship gets stronger within that home because we are able to communicate within that home. It simply means, though, it is a learning process. You get to learn it, but at the same time, you take it one step at a time, one day at a time.
All right. And remember, this goes beyond the home. It goes friendships, co-workers, sometimes even with your supervisor. All these things do have to happen. And
Yes.
it means stepping out of that comfort zone, but go ahead and try it.
Definitely.
Right. We're going to keep it moving now, and it's time for a bit of morning tea. So let's start up a bit of conversation for this morning for you to have at home or as you head out to work.
Definitely. You know, and this one is definitely a nice one. Starting off your tea, putting in that water that, if you like sugar, I'm going with my fever grass or my lemon tea. And this is it. If you could sit for 1 hour with a historic figure, dead or alive, who would you choose and why? Now, this is a great conversation starter on your social media platform. For me, internationally, I'd go with Bob Marley. And man, I'd have a wonderful sit down. I watch a lot of his documentaries. I'd go with I'd have a sit down with him and I'd ask him a lot of questions, inclusive of what motivates him, what motivates you or what give you that vision of having these lyrics that we know for a fact touches the world. And because everybody could reckon with Bob Marley and what he's saying, his music is never old. His music could play any time of the day, any time of the night. But the lyrics is what catches you. And so for me, I'd have a good sit down with him. That's locally. Internationally. Locally, I would have a conversation probably with the late, great, I forgot. I wanted to say Joseph Chatouillet. And I'd have a conversation with him, a cultural one, of how we could do better for our culture, the Garifuna culture, which is a big part of our country. So I'd have a conversation with him in terms of how we could get things sparked up and make it even better for our country.
Interesting.
Those would be mine.
Yeah. You have international and local. I haven't thought about this question very often.
I just thought about it.
Yeah, I think that, I think being able to have conversations with people are such a rich way of especially, I don't know, who would I go with? I guess similar to what you were saying in looking at icons in industries that you like, Bob Marley for music, I'd love to talk to Oprah. I think that would be such an interesting but not like interview style. I just think reflecting on, she has such an interesting history and what she's accomplished and what she continues to do with that. I've always found that so powerful. So I'd love to have that conversation about that, what it feels like for her to overcome what she did and be able to contribute what she does.
Stephen, right up the lane with you.
Yeah? All right, great job. Thank you so much, Stephen. We got a booker over here who says he's going to do it.
But like we mentioned, it is a great conversation started for the morning. And if you've got your social media platform, ask the question or say who... or say a historic figure that you'd like to have a conversation with, or a sit down for an hour. It is a great conversation started for the morning.
Absolutely. All right, but we got to get moving into our conversations for today.
Definitely, and we'll be starting off this morning with a conversation with the representative of the U.S. Embassy on U.S. international relations.
That's right. The second part of our show, we're keeping you on track in planning for 2020. And this time, we're going to be talking about money-saving tips for the new year.
And in our third segment for the morning, it is going to be a foodie tour. Now we're talking here, Hano Cafe. The first time I got some coffee, I'm not sure if you was the one who gave me or I started when we got it from Hano. But we'll be chit-chatting with Hano for this morning in our final segment. I'll be tasting some of his coffee and see what he's got to offer.
All right.
All righty. And we're about to take that break. But before we do that, we want to say a big, big, big happy birthday to Marlet Brown. Marlet, happy birthday to you. Wishing you all the very best today and always, coming from all of us here at Channel 5 and all of us right here on Open Your Eyes.
All right.
And we'll take that break. And when we come back, we'll get right into our first segment. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
With over 100 years of service excellence in
And welcome back to Open Your Eyes on this lovely Wednesday morning. We're about to venture off now into our first conversation for the morning, the U.S. Embassy on U.S. international relations. And in with us to talk about it, we've got Keith Gilgis. He's actually the U.S. Chargé d'Affaires out of the U.S. Embassy here in Belize, actually in the capital city of Belmopan. Keith, good morning, sir. Happy New Year and welcome.
Happy New Year to you as well, Marlene, John, and to all of your viewers and all Belizeans. I just wish you a happy, healthy, safe, and prosperous New Year.
Yeah, you sound exactly like one of us. Now you're Belizean now. You know that, right?
Well, I certainly, I was just on vacation in the States for a little while, and 2 weeks, had a great time with my family skiing. But I got to tell you, every time I touch down in Belize, I'm just thrilled to be back.
Nice.
So let's jump on into it. Firstly, we want to touch on, we know the situation and what it is like today in the world, and how the U.S. have got basically the world talking as we speak. What's going on right now, international relations, really internationally? Probably you want to touch on the Iran situation? Want to get there?
Well, definitely. I think we need to start with an update. There were big developments
What's the update here?
yesterday, and the world is awaiting to hear from President Trump.
Yeah.
So let's start off with that.
Well, sure. Well, listen, thanks for the invitation to come and speak on this issue. And as always, I'm happy to cover the entire range of things. When I was first on here a year and a half ago, I said, let's make sure this is a conversation that we continue to have. And so
Yeah.
it's been about 6 months since I was here. So thanks for the invitation back. Sure. Clearly, things are moving quickly in Iran. Last night, we saw a series of attacks against 2 U.S. bases there. We don't believe that there were any casualties. We are still assessing the damage. Yeah. But there was significant damage that happened. My understanding is that the Iranians have put out a statement saying, we are not planning to retaliate further if the U.S. doesn't. So again, I await the similar guidance and to hear what the president has to say. Yeah. But I know his objective is not to create a war. His objective is to enhance stability, is to create a world that is prosperous and free. When we are attacked, we will respond. And certainly that was the case with the attack on our base a few days ago, or 2 weeks ago on the 27th. When those rockets came in and killed a U.S. contractor and wounded several service members, we responded. And we will continue to in those incidents.
Now, it's been just within the past 2 weeks, and I'm glad you brought that up, that I think the focus has been on U.S. and Iran relations. However, it is a long history. It's just been kind of out of sight, out of mind for the public at the very least. When you look at the actions that have taken place, I'd like to kind of just do a chronology of how things have been going, because it's important for us to understand now. The rest of the world we're concerned about things like war. We're concerned of loss of life, impact in countries that perhaps are not involved. And we heard of what would potentially be escalation efforts outside of Iran if the U.S. was to respond. So let's start with that chronology.
Yeah, so looking back a little bit, in the chronology, we went into Iraq in 2003 and helped liberate Iraq from Saddam Hussein. By 2011, we had withdrawn all our troops from Iraq. There was no agreement with the government at the time on the status of our forces, and so we withdrew. We maintained an embassy there, but we no longer had any boots on the ground. Within 3 years, ISIS had taken 20,000 square miles of territory in Iraq and Syria. Wow. And so we were invited back in as part of a multinational coalition of forces to disrupt, dismantle, and ultimately defeat ISIS. And that is what we call Operation Inherent Resolve. That is the base that we have, and we've got about 5,000 troops still there. So ISIS has been defeated. It's not dead. It's still there. Part of the challenge for us was when we had a common enemy with Iran. Iran was fighting ISIS as well. Yeah. When ISIS was defeated, they started turning their rockets back on us. And that was the attack, 30 rockets into the base in Kirkuk in northern Iraq. And for that, we had to respond. And we did, with targeted attacks, 3 in Iraq, 2 in Syria, against Iranian-backed proxy forces, the Kataib Hezbollah. So we attacked those forces, also part of the popular mobilization forces, the militias in Iraq. In response to that, they did this to our embassy. Again, it's Iranian-backed proxy forces that are attacking. So on January 2nd, the president made the decision to go after the mastermind of these attacks, which was General Soleimani.
No, and this is why I said in the past 2 weeks it's important to look at the chronology, because it's kind of just been an action and then a reaction from either side. The assassination of General Soleimani has definitely been a key trigger. And in fact, many have looked at the decision to make that attack as one that was very bold, and perhaps the writing was on the wall that there would have been some sort of response.
The goal of all of our actions is to de-escalate. But when attacked, we will respond.
Yes.
And it is targeted, it is specific, and it is on purpose.
Yeah.
So we hit the target we meant to hit.
Yeah.
But the idea is not that it goes beyond this.
Yeah.
You know, we want to say, listen, it is in everybody's interest that Iraq is peaceful, is stable, is sovereign from outside influences. And Iran is constantly using its proxy forces in Iraq for purposes of instability, for purposes of chaos, and they want to create basically a vassal state in Iraq for Iran. That's not what we see. But again, our forces are there, and the 5,000 troops we have are there to ensure that ISIS does not rise again. And we continue at the invitation of the Iraqi government to be there.
Yeah, you know, it's funny enough that the leader of Iran is actually saying one of the things that they want and their people want is for U.S. forces to get out of the area. And they're saying that because of this is when we've got the heightened hostility in the area. Do you think that there will be any consideration for the U.S. to actually move out of the Middle East on a whole?
The reason that we have those troops in Iraq right now is because of ISIS. We left in 2011, and as I said, by 2014, ISIS had taken over huge portions of Iraq and Syria.
Yeah.
So we continue with that mission. That is why we are there. While Iran says, sure, we would like all U.S. troops out of the whole region because they wish to extend their own influence in there. And to have, and they continue in their escapades, whether it's in Yemen or in Syria and other places, through their proxies to create instability and chaos. That's not in our interest, that's not in Belize's interest, that's not in the interest of the international community.
But the biggest concern is just how do you avoid escalation at this point? And that's why I started off by saying the world is waiting to hear what the U.S. response will be. Iran has essentially said, well, we have responded to the attack of last week, and we feel that we don't need to escalate, but if you do, we've already decided where targets are going to be.
Yeah.
So at this point, I can't get ahead of the president.
I know.
And ultimately, it will be his decision how we respond. But all these, it is considered, it is proportionate, it is saying, how do we respond in a way that says, we're not backing down, but we do want to de-escalate. We are looking for peace. We are looking for stability in the region. And so, I will be listening as closely as everybody else to the president's remarks later on.
But the indications, I think, based on what he has said so far, mostly through Twitter, do you feel that it is perhaps the intention of the administration at this time to not have escalation take place?
Again, I don't want to speculate about what the president may or may not say, but the goal is stability. The goal is to de-escalate. And his comments and the comments of Secretary Pompeo were very clear that we've taken the actions we've taken to try and reduce instability, not to enhance it. We want to de-escalate. We don't want to get into a war. This is not a president that wants to go to war. He, when he campaigned years ago and through his term, he's interested in focusing on domestic issues. He's not interested in being involved in a myriad of international arenas. But we are going to defend U.S. national security. We are going to respond when attacked.
Now, it's interesting that you bring up some of the issues that President Trump campaigned on, because one of the things that his critics are clearly pointing out is how he spoke of bringing home the military. And following the attack at the embassy in Baghdad, you had to deploy more people, 3,000 more, I believe. So it's actually going against what he had originally promised. How do you respond to that?
Well, listen, you have to respond to international events as they occur. And while the overall goal is not to be involved in as many in myriad international incidents every time something arises, we will defend ourselves if attacked. And so certainly when there was that vicious attack on the embassy compound in Baghdad, there was an effort to defend. I'm happy to say that our folks at the embassy, the security forces, were able to fire tear gas. Nobody was killed. There was no live fire that happened. So again, it's to say we are going to protect ourselves. The goal is not to hurt others. You know, in the end, after 2 days, they withdrew, and we'll have some rebuilding to do there. But again, you know, the president is clear that we will protect U.S. national security interests. If that means, for a time being, we need to increase our presence as a deterrent, then we will do that.
The Iranian leader also went on record to say that the attack on his general was actually an act of terrorism on the part of the U.S., and that there was no evidence that he actually stirred the pot in terms of striking the U.S. embassy. Is there any truth to that, or how do you respond to that being called an act of terrorism from the U.S.?
We targeted somebody who was a sinister mastermind of chaos. You know, that is who General Soleimani was. That's what he was doing in Iraq. That's what he's been doing around the region.
Loved by everybody. Loved by everybody in that area.
I won't speak to that, but certainly he was sowing chaos there. And it was determined for a long time that he was responsible for various acts of terrorism through the region. And so he was targeted, and that was a specific effort to remove him from the playing field because he was a sinister mastermind behind a lot of these attacks.
Understanding all of that, when you look at the response since he was assassinated, and you see the crowds of people in the streets, and you see just all the emotions that have been coming out following that. They're calling him a martyr. And in fact, quite a number of, in fact, the people who are there supporting him are speaking of seeking revenge as well. How do you view that in context of responding?
Listen, we globally always face certain threats, and so, you know, we have to provide protection for ourselves. Our goal is, again, a world that is prosperous, that is democratic, that is peaceful, that is free. And that's what we'll continue to do. If we have to take actions in defense of that, we will. But frankly, at the end of the day, he was not somebody that we wanted to see continue being able to stir the chaos that he was.
Now, some of the interesting information that came out after last night, and I wanted to get your perspective on it. The attack that Iran made on the 2 bases in Iraq used
the one yesterday.
Yesterday, yes, that used ballistic missiles. Its information has come forward saying that there was advanced warning that the attack was going to take place, and in fact there was sufficient time for the U.S. troops that were there in the area to be able to seek shelter. So it almost seemed that they were trying to avoid any casualties in this particular attack. Do you share the same view?
I can't speak for Iranian intentions, and I don't have any particular information other than what you've seen in the media. I haven't been privy to any of that since last night. But certainly, you know, if they have said that they are not interested, that is their proportional response, then again, hopefully what we see is a de-escalation.
And how about, I mean, how concerned are you that while they did say that this is a proportional response, which means they feel that they have avenged the killing of their general, but if the U.S. responds, their next step would be seeking further action in Dubai and also in Israel.
So Iran has been a state sponsor of terrorism for many, many years.
Yeah.
So it continues to do that, whether it's Houthi rebels in Yemen, whether it's their actions in Syria and other places. The goal of our interaction with Iran is for them to end their nuclear program and not become, have a nuclear bomb, to stop their escapades in the region, fighting proxy wars. I mean, join the country of nations, join the world of nations. But the president has said the Iranian people are smart, they're hardworking, they're innovative. We don't have a problem with that. We would love to have better relations with Iran. But there are certain things that the Iranian government has to stop doing to join the world of nations, and that's the goal that we seek.
So my question is more geared towards the fact that in the response that the U.S. chooses to make or has done in the past, what the message from Iran is saying is that the impact will go beyond just responding to the country that engages them, and being able to seek damage or loss of life in countries that are not involved in this conflict.
That's nothing new for Iran. So for them to say we would expend this to other parts of the world is no surprise. That's the kind of activity that Iran engages in that we would like them not to. Again, I can't get ahead of the president and how he's going to respond, but our responses are always proportional and intended to de-escalate.
And so, just to follow up on that, it does, though, bring into focus that the consequences of decisions made by America in what they will and will not engage in with Iran has impacts beyond just what may happen on American soil or in bases that houses American troops or employees.
Well, that's the international world that we live in. Implications are not limited just within certain borders, certain political constructs. But the idea is overall seeking for peace and stability and prosperity.
It's funny that we're having this conversation and the president have not, or President Trump have not come out to say anything as yet, or not that we know of. And so this is the reason why we've got all these questions, and and we understand that you're not able to go, speak on some things, not knowing what his response is at this particular point. But let's talk Belize-U.S. relations, which of course is international relations. What are some of the things that we're working on to move forward with close ties with the U.S. that we've got going on? Right.
I always say there is such an affinity between the people of Belize and the people of the United States. I mean, when we've got a population of approximately 30,000 Americans who live here in Belize, a mix of retirees, a mix of folks that came down as tourists and said they love it so much they're not leaving. And nearly every Belizean family has some American relative. And so I mean, that's a fantastic thing. So there are a whole range of areas. We share so many values, so there are things we're able to work on. As I'm looking forward to 2020 and what we can help accomplish here. Again, one of the big ones is to help reduce the transshipment of drugs through Belize. But so now that I've said, to deal with the drug problem, you have to deal with the production of it, you have to deal with the distribution and shipment of it, and you have to deal with the consumption. We're looking on all those things. Our engagement with Belize is focused on the transshipment of it.
Of course.
And so we're looking to increase Belize's presence in our, we've got, it's called the Joint Interagency Task Force in Key West. They're the ones that are able to track the planes that are moving. Belize should be relatively soon stationing a person there, a liaison officer, to have access so we can get that information back and forth and help combat drugs. We're looking to ensure that while migration is an issue for Central America, it has not been an issue for Belize. We want to make sure that any policies that we have for returning asylum seekers to other countries in Central America does not have an impact on Belize. We want to make sure that those folks aren't stationed anywhere near Belize's border so they start passing through Belize. Belize is a great partner in that area. And of course, Belize has a wonderful partner in Taiwan. And that's a relationship that we again want to support because I think that's, Belize is an important bulwark against Chinese economic aggression and debt trap diplomacy.
I wanna step back just a bit because you spoke of what is to come in the future in terms of having assist Belize in whether it is intervening in the transshipment of drugs or preventing. The future action is to have someone placed at Key West to kind of liaise with Belize. But what has been done so far? Because this year we saw, I think this is perhaps the most planes that we have found in country, or reports of landings that weren't intercepted just in 1 year alone. 2019, I'm sorry, not this year. Yeah.
Well, listen, you know, when I was coming down here in mid 2018, there had not been a single significant interdiction of a plane carrying drugs in many, many, many years. So I commend the work of the Anti-Narcotics Unit and the Belize Defense Force and the Belize National Police for everything they did in 2019. It was a banner year for interdiction of drugs. But yes, the folks that are moving these drugs, if they find, they will test every place they can go. And if they find that there's a permissive environment and they're able to move drugs, they will. But again, the interdictions were way up. I don't know that the number of planes has increased, but certainly they're being found, there's better response. And that is to the credit of the Belizean security forces. Now we help. You know, if we're able to provide some information, if we're able to provide training, those sorts of things, you know, we're happy to do that and we want to continue doing that. But it's to the credit of the Belize security forces that they have managed to interdict so many planes.
Well, I think that's a matter of perspective, because oftentimes these planes are found after they've been abandoned and burned, and no person or drug cargo is found.
It's tough. I mean, this is, you know, when you've got a country with less than or around 400,000 people in, you know, what we say is about the size of New Jersey, it is hard to move folks around. I mean, there's a, you know, according to UN standards, Belize has the appropriate number of police. But for 400,000 people, you think, you know, having 2,200, 2,100 police is about right for a city. This is a country of 400,000 people. So it is hard to move folks around. So when those planes are coming in, it is based on information to be able to get the forces there. Having an officer up in Blue Creek, if a plane's coming in, you know, listen, I wouldn't tell that officer, go try and take down that plane, because the chances are you're going to be facing some serious firepower from the other side.
Definitely.
So to get the information, to be able to move folks around, they're doing a much better job at it. But it is challenging.
And I think that you touched a point. I think that a lot of people in the public and in viewing what's been happening of recent can't seem to understand. You don't have to gather intelligence, you don't have to work in security forces to just know that there are hotspots in this country. There are areas that what we have always seen, or especially of recent, we see this type of activity. I always say, if you put up the map and you put all where the planes were found, you know exactly where it's happening. And so the question from the public has always been, well, why aren't we stationed there? Why don't we have? Now, that's not your question to answer. My question to you is looking at being able to allow for partnerships or investments. Is there a plan to be able to perhaps assist the security forces in outfitting posts in these areas where intervention can be more likely?
We do provide a tremendous amount of security assistance in the whole range, whether it's you know, vests to help protect police officers when they're going on these raids or information. And in fact, as you say, there are hotspots, and the Belizean government has responded. The security forces are moving people to those areas. But again, if you're a drug trafficker, you're also smart and you're innovating. And you're figuring out, okay, well, if that's the hotspot, I'm going to go somewhere else. And the challenge is there are a lot of different places that they can land planes. And when the volume of money is so great that they say, we don't even have to be able to take that plane back off again. We're going to land it and we're just going to burn it. This is a challenge, but it's one that we continue to cooperate on, and I'd like to see greater success. To not just say, you know, people often say you can't interdict your way out of a drug problem. But if you can use the information gathered from the interdictions to go after the networks, that's the key part. And that's where we also then can help, because we've got the relations with Mexico, we've got the relations with Guatemala, we've got the relations with Honduras, to try and tie all that together. And I think Belize's actions to engage more with its neighbors, I mean, fantastic cooperation that Belize has with Mexico on interdicting drugs. So, you know, that sort of thing will continue where we can help, we want to. But again, it will be a Belizean solution to this problem. Where we can help, we will.
Excellent. let's venture off into Belize-U.S. Relations with respect to tourism. We saw the situation coming up there New Year's Eve, New Year's, whereby we had Key Carker without water. We had Key Carker without electricity for a while. Is there any response from the U.S. Embassy or the U.S. government with respect to having their people coming over? Because we know when it comes to the influx of tourism, there are a lot of U.S. citizens that comes here to enjoy this beautiful country. Is there any words from you guys in terms of dealing with that situation?
Sure. Well, I like to think that I'm doing my part.
You
I've got friends
you are.
arriving in a week that are staying for a couple weeks. We'll be down in Placencia. My family's coming back in February. My dad will be here for 3 weeks. So
Excellent.
certainly we're trying to do, my family is trying to do all it can to help tourism.
Yeah.
Listen, Belize continues to be a fantastic destination for U.S. tourists to come. And I believe the numbers, were up in 2019 over 2018. And the vast majority of those are folks coming in on cruise ships. But yeah, there are challenges anytime you are expanding with tourism. There are resource challenges. But I think Belize is doing a good and smart job to say, let's not just go big, let's go smart. And to develop the tourism opportunities for folks to ensure that they're safe. Accidents can happen, and we of course saw the tragedy late last year involving cruise ship passengers. And I went to visit those folks in the hospital the next day, and it's tragic and sad. And there were three Belizeans who were neighbors of ours in Belmopan who were also killed in that accident. But again, overall, I think Belize has a great product to sell in its incredible properties and its incredible wildlife and biodiversity, and I'm sure Americans will continue to flock down here. Certainly, my family does.
Yeah, and one of the areas I know that the U.S. has had very good relations with Belize. It does go back to security, is looking at addressing the crime situation. We've seen, luckily, a lot of the crime. I shouldn't say luckily, but as of late, the crime is more focused on local issues and domestic issues. But there have been instances where tourists have lost their lives. They've been victims of not necessarily homicides, but it could be home invasions, American nationals, that is. Talk to me about how you work to be able to help to protect the citizens that do reside here or visit.
Yeah, obviously, U.S. citizen security is the top priority. When I was going through my training class back a couple of years ago, they said, if the OIG, if the Inspector General ever comes to you and says, what's your number one priority? And if I respond, maintaining the bilateral relations with the host country and all that sort of stuff, they're going to say, wrong. Your number one priority is to protect U.S. citizens. So we'll continue to do that. But we do that in cooperation. We're not going to be able to do that on our own. But if we're able to help build the capacity of the police to respond to crime, build the prosperity so that people have jobs so they're not interested in crime, all that. I mean, that's part of our sort of the three-legged stool of good governance, economic prosperity, and citizen security. And we focus a lot on the citizen security component, whether it's grants we're giving to local organizations, whether it's our cooperation with the police or the police defense force. So that's always key. And we do have to tell the story. So if there are incidents, we have to warn American tourists to worry about that. So it is a concern. If tourists are attacked, if they're robbed, whatever else, that becomes a blemish on Belize as a destination. But overall, given the vast number of tourists that come here, we say exercise increased caution, but visit Belize.
Lovely.
Yeah. It's such a touchy. That's the concern with having a tourism product that's so vital to us, because it only takes one incident every now and again to really have a devastating impact. But going back to it, in terms of working with forces in technical training, I know that I'm thinking back on some of the particular cases where the FBI came in. There still wasn't any resolution in being able to solve the murders. So we're seeing where we have challenges in intelligence gathering or in investigating crimes. I know there's some cooperation that takes place there as well. Talk to us about that.
Well, we're starting a series of three-week investigation courses. So we've got a former superintendent of police, Willie Parnell, who's been here for a while, been here for years, in fact, working on improving investigation. He's running a course starting this month for 3 weeks, and I think we've got 90 different police officers that'll be going through that.
Yeah.
They're off for a couple weeks, then it's another 3-week course. They're off for a couple weeks, then it's another 3-week course to really give them the tools and the skills. And it comes down to, listen, we can provide that training. Ultimately, it becomes incumbent upon the investigator not to say, hey, I've done everything that I was taught.
Yeah.
I've ticked every box that I was given. I'm not sure what to do next. I don't know either. But get out there and figure it out. You don't stop until you've turned over every leaf, until you've done what you can.
Yeah.
And again, we can provide the tools, but it is up to Belizeans to figure out, okay, that was useful to me, we're going to use that, and we're going to solve these crimes.
Yeah. And while we're on the topic of education, the U.S.-Belize international ties and the educational aspect, working along with the schools, can you expand on anything, if there's anything going on?
You know, I had a great opportunity to go to one of the schools out in Benkei. The police run something called the Gang Resistance Education and Training Course. The GREAT program, which is a great program. And, you know, I've had an opportunity to participate in the graduation ceremonies a couple times now. But I thought, well, hey, I'm not actually in the schools. You know, I want to see these police officers at work. And I went to the school in Benkei, and it was fantastic. And having the police in there. And it's not just about what they're teaching and how they're engaging with these young students. It's that they are engaging. It's that they're present in the school to say, we want to cooperate. You know, if something's happening, we're the police, you can come to us for safety and security. And so that was a fantastic opportunity to get into the schools and participate in that program.
All right.
Well, before we wrap up, though, we do have a couple more issues to discuss. One in looking at U.S. relations beyond just with Belize. Next week, actually, the new president, Guatemala, takes over, and we know that the U.S. and President Jimmy Morales, the outgoing president, was able to make up to strike up a deal on being a safe third country. The incoming president has said that he's not sure that that's a deal that he will want to follow through with. The migration issue, while perhaps not as talked about as it once was, is still an issue for the United States. What are the indications as to what may happen there? If it goes through or doesn't go through?
I have to be a little careful. So I've got colleagues in Guatemala who deal with the Guatemalan relationship, and if they hear that the Charge in Belize is talking about U.S. relations with Guatemala, I'm going to get in trouble with them. So I don't want to speak to that. But listen, we have good relations.
But in helping us understand what the deal is meant to do.
So the Asylum Cooperation Agreement, the ACA, is one where we say, listen, rather than have all these asylum applicants, you know, sitting at the U.S. border, they can be relocated to other countries. So if they didn't feel safe in Honduras, they could be located in Guatemala. So that's a program. It's unfolding. You know, we have seen the first returnees come to Guatemala. Again, my interest in that issue is ensuring that U.S. policymakers understand what those issues, you know, what that policy, the impact it can have on Belize. You know, and my big one is to say, let's make sure that if they do create an asylum camp, it is not anywhere on the eastern half of Guatemala, because we don't want those folks then saying, well, our best pathway rather than north into Mexico is through Belize into Mexico. So again, I make sure that I'm carrying that message back to Washington. We're letting them know, yes, as you're putting these agreements in place, here's the impact it could have on Belize. Let's not let that happen.
So being preventative and not having these asylum seekers come into Belize if they've been relocated to Guatemala.
My understanding was that there was some effort to possibly locate a camp somewhere in the Petén.
Okay.
And so my job is to go back to Washington and say, okay, Washington, in your engagements with your other bilateral partners like Guatemala, make sure that their decisions they're making don't have this negative side effect. And so far we have been successful in that.
And so Petén is still the preferred site?
Not for us.
Okay, but there's been no decision made as to where it would be?
We know that an effort to have planes fly into the airport in Petén, we've said that's a non-starter. And so those flights continue to fly into Guatemala City. And we do not support the location of an asylum camp anywhere near Belize.
Okay. And finally, before we close, there are big things happening in the United States. We just recently had the impeachment, and it somehow has clearly what's happening with Iran. It's not as talked about, but I'd love to get your perspective in terms of what the messaging coming out of your office is in helping people understand what the impeachment means.
So, when you started the program, you talked about withholding. So clearly, you're not withholding any questions from me. So I'm grateful for that. As I say, happy to talk about anything.
We appreciate your openness.
Listen, now we're starting to move into sort of the political realm.
Yeah.
And I'm very careful that as a professional diplomat, as a career Foreign Service officer, I want to talk about bilateral issues with Belize and those sort of things. When we get into the strictly political stuff, what's happening in the United States, listen, the impeachment process is moving forward.
Yes.
The House voted to impeach, which means that the Senate now has a trial.
Yes.
And so it'll move to that process. I will be reading the papers and paying attention to it as well.
Yeah.
But that's not something that I really engage in.
Yeah. All right. Well, the rest of the world is watching too, so they do have many questions.
I'm sure, and they're welcome to direct those back to the State Department or folks in Washington.
All right. Well, it was nice having you for this morning.
John Marlene, thank you.
And once again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well, and Happy New Year to all Belizeans.
And we always appreciate you coming in and
Of
having
course.
just this wide range of conversation with us.
Anytime. Happy to be here. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, we're about to take that commercial break. 2020 is here, and on top of your mind would be to save some money. How do you do that? We'll have a professional in to tell you exactly what to do the smart way. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
"65 years ago,
And welcome back to Opinion Line. Welcome back on this lovely Wednesday morning. Now we're venturing off into our second conversation for the morning. Actually, that 2020 vision of money saving tips for 2020. We've got the pro in to tell us all about it. Neil Wade, he's an officer at St. John's Credit Union. Neil, good morning and welcome.
All right, morning, guys. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year, man.
Right?
We're still in the first days of the first month.
You're right.
Likewise, as you notice, it's also the first start of a new decade.
Yeah, it is.
So,
it is.
all that spending went on in December.
that decade.
Yes, yeah, in that decade.
Past decade, yes.
Right? So, we're starting a new year, a new decade, so we want to start off on the right foot. And I'm here to try to encourage people and to emphasize the importance of savings.
Right.
That's right.
So,
And a tough conversation to have in what is traditionally known as MAGA season in
Yes.
Belize. People are pinching pennies until the next payday.
the next payday, yeah. So I understand, and that's one of the things with the credit union. I mean, we try to emphasize the whole thing about savings and the importance of savings, and you don't want to wait until you're in a predicament to say, oh, what I will do to
Yeah.
try to get out of this particular situation.
And I should have saved for this particular situation.
Yeah, and to be honest, savings, even for myself, thank God for being in the credit union, I've appreciated more what it means to save, right?
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest, my mom used to tell me make sure you save when I started work. Your granny, your grandpa
First
give you.
paycheck.
Yeah.
Everybody always tells
yeah,
you.
Yeah, right. But to be honest, like that, literally it comes through 1 year, goes through the
go
other
to the
year.
other.
Like the
Yeah.
money, right?
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
through one
yeah,
hand,
yeah.
go through the other.
Exactly. So one
I'm
of the
glad you mentioned that, though, because I think that people don't realize that saving is a habit. Like you have to learn it, you have to practice it, you have to be committed to it, because we can find a million excuses as why not to save just a little bit each time. So how did you develop your habit?
Well, this is the thing, right? I mean, you learn this, like I say, you learn from your mistakes,
Yeah.
right? You're talking to people, you reach a certain point in your life and you realize, okay, what is my level of savings? Where I am financially? Am I prepared to stop working in 10 years, 15 years? Where I am? And the main question is, so what is your savings? Then you have to look at your level of liability. Will I be able to pay off all that I owe by the time I'm ready to retire?
Yeah.
Right? So the thing with savings, again, like I say, it's a mindset. It's a habit. It's something in Belize that we don't normally accustomed to, a bit too late. Again, one of the things we try to emphasize is to end the whole thing with MAGA season, but I mean, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Kind of hard. It's a cultural thing in Belize where, like, how we love rice and beans, we kind of like MAGA season. I don't know why.
Well, because we keep on telling ourselves this thing now, the money will come.
And the money I go.
God will provide.
Yeah.
And we spend every last cent
Christmas
that we
bring
have.
your own money.
Christmas
Yes,
bring your
like-
own money, yeah.
Like say, and I'm not sure where that come from.
It's like, no, it doesn't bring
Yeah.
your own, it brings January money. That's what it does.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah.
So there has to be a level of how you care and caution that you take with whatever money you have in December.
Yeah.
Especially when we're borrowing. At St. John's, our motto is safe saving, smart borrowing.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes hand in hand. We have developed a motto whereby you have to, whenever you borrow something, we have to allow you to have a savings pledge.
Yeah.
For the same reason, because sometimes if force people twist their
save.
hand a little bit, savings are the last thing on their mind.
Yeah.
And that's one of the benefits of using a credit union, because savings is the act of saving is integrated into a lot of the services and products that you offer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that goes back to our fundamental principle of being the credit union difference.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we prosper, yes. We are not for profit, but we still want to make a little money and
Yeah.
give back to you, the members. But at the same time, we want, once you prosper, then we directly prosper.
Of course.
So if we are only concerned about just lending you money, then that's one part of the equation.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a balancing, So as we promote safe saving, likewise the
Smart
safe
borrowing.
Yeah.
And it is a win-win situation when we look at things from that perspective. But there are folks out there right now who are saying, you know what, this pay period coming up, I want to make sure the MAGA season situation not catch me again.
Yeah.
So what are our steps? What do we start to do first?
Well, the main thing is to understand the whole idea, the concept of financial literacy, right? I mean, for the most part, that's not something that has been taught in school. So you go to school, you finish your primary school, all your level of education, you bomb in the workforce. You get a first paycheck, you don't know what to do. You say, I can spend,
Yeah.
So that's your first initiative. However, when you sit down and you understand the whole concept of financial literacy, you understand that, okay, money is earned. Money is to be saved. Money has to be spent. Money has to be borrowed.
Yeah.
You think about money being invested, and then some of the new things now you're thinking about money being donated.
Yeah.
As all part of the whole concept of financial literacy.
Yeah.
Right? So one of the first things we do is, mindset is about savings. So you understand that this has to be a mandatory issue. That's something, oh, well, I want to consider whether I should have saved.
Now,
You
there are
know?
many different terminologies people use for this. They say pay yourself first before, if they're saying, if you're trying to save. But what worked for you? I like your perspective. I like that you're honest enough to say, I didn't used to save. Everybody used to tell me it's important, and then I learned. But what really
Yeah.
made that connection for you?
Because then, like you said, you started thinking long term.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in conversation, and people will say, "Well, I don't know worry about tomorrow, because I could dead today. I don't know when I was dead."
Yeah.
But normally, you have to be at the same time realistic that life you might live maybe at least 70 years. So what are you doing to plan for your life while you're here on Earth?
Yeah.
Right. So one of the first thing I did that, okay, now going forward, savings is a mandatory.
Okay.
It's not a maybe, I want to do it this month and I think about it next month. No,
Yeah.
it's mandatory. So each month I save regularly and I save consistently.
Yeah.
And not like you're saying about paying myself first, no, actually I pay myself second. I pay the savings first. So that is the key.
Okay.
You put aside that.
So the first money that you take out of your salary is
for
savings.
Yeah, for
Okay.
savings. And for the most part, how we encourage our members is to do a salary deduction. Because
Salary deduction.
Yeah, because most of the time you won't want to, when you get your pay, you go to the ATM and then you say, oh, let me stop by the credit union office and put this money to my savings.
Yeah.
More than likely that will never happen.
Yeah.
You know, so again, we try to encourage easy ways for them to save.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the first tip. If
Yeah.
you want to be serious about saving, start a salary deduction directly to your savings account.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you try not to have ATM access to your savings, right? You put that one side, so like you try to have different accounts. So you use your bank accounts for your spending and for your different living expenses,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And again, to even with access to your normal living expenses, money that you spend, you try develop habits whereby don't take out cash unless you need to, because sometimes you
That's
take,
me.
yeah,
Yeah.
but no particular reason. Once you have money on yourself and
You wanna spend it.
yeah. Whereas if I say I go down the
Cash
ramp,
disappears faster
Yeah.
than using a
your debit card,
Yeah.
you know, once you have that cash in your hand, so, and then you try, you see, depending upon your pay interval, you know where you are, in that time of the week or that time of the month. So
Yeah.
you try to refrain from going to certain places that would cause you to spend.
Okay. All right.
You know?
So limit yourself with cash,
Yeah.
but keep your plastic just in case.
Just yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's a good
And
one.
in this day and age, it's much easier to use your debit card.
Yeah.
I just remind people to be careful because there are some businesses that are really terrible at charging you to use your debit, which, but
Again-
be mindful
again-
and
yeah.
ask those questions.
Yeah, and again, that's part of your financial assessment of where you go to shop.
Yeah.
Because then again, those costs would add up.
Yeah.
Depending where you go, they might charge you an extra, or in some cases they limit you that you have to spend this amount of money.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have your budget for the month, you don't only plan to spend so much for the week.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's better, okay, if you know you're going to do a certain amount of spending,
Yeah.
get cash if you're going to a particular
Yeah.
institution or a
Or
particular
find one that
establishment.
doesn't have a surcharge,
Yeah, I
because
agree.
there are many places that you could charge $10
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you want to with no additional charges. So
Yeah.
find those and support those.
Yeah, I agree.
And then, so let's say, okay, January is here. The first pay period have not been issued out as yet. The base salary is around $1,700.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that 50, 30, 20. How do we manage this, especially if we've got rent,
Yeah.
you got babysitting or daycare. You got your utilities. Those
it's
are
a must.
primary.
Yeah, it's a
Those are
must.
primary. So here we go. We've got your needs, whether groceries, housing, utilities, insurance, health insurance actually, and car payment.
See, and you say I like how you put it, right? In terms of
Yeah.
you have the needs, you have the wants, and then you have 20% for the savings.
20% for the
Again,
saving.
mandatory. That don't go.
That 20? Put that
and like I
aside.
said, as the first principle, put that first, because then if you left out to the bottom, then you start to juggle between the needs and then the wants. Then eventually they just start to find way from the
This
savings.
goes down
So,
to 5,
Five,
3%,
eventually
2%,
from, you say, during that January, then you say, January we put the 20, but then February come we put it at 15. Then eventually from month to month, you notice that
So look at only another 10%. Yeah.
But like I said, the first thing is to do, let savings be first.
Yeah. Salary deduction.
Yeah.
Aim for salary deduction in an account where you don't have access to it, especially online.
Yeah, in terms
or
of easy access,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like I said, in terms of direct access to your ATM or online access.
Yeah.
You know, so because again, you have to,
It's
you have to
true.
restrict yourself. You know, 'cause as human beings, sometimes, want to have that self-control.
If it's harder to access, it's less likely that
Yeah.
you're going to go
Yeah.
through all of that,
Yeah.
except if it's an absolute need.
Because I'll be honest, some of our members tell us they don't want no ATM card.
Yeah.
Because my account is strictly for savings.
For savings.
I don't go there unless I'm in emergency.
Yeah.
You know? So,
All right, so that's the first tip.
Yeah.
Let's go.
all right. Now, again with the needs. Sometimes, as you go along, each month get tighter, expenses get higher and so forth. As you know, cost of living is always rising. So
Yeah.
what we do, again, you're finding ways to save. I mean, one of the things with the living expenses, you watch your spending habits.
Yes.
I mean, for the most part, a lot of people would be buying breakfast in the morning 5 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, buying lunch.
$7,
And
that's just for AM. That's for the
$7
first.
for
Exactly.
breakfast. That's
Yeah,
an expensive
breakfast.
breakfast.
I
No,
was
but
saying,
even
base.
if you
But
do,
you kind of want a decent breakfast,
Yeah.
because normally I say breakfast. Well, for me, I love breakfast, right? So I have a decent breakfast. I need something solid to eat. Make sure I got my thing from my eggs, my meats, a little bit of fruits, and my healthy juice. So
Okay.
start the morning right.
So, is it good to maybe just sit down and look at what you're paying each month, kind of like that assessment?
No, and like John said earlier, you have to, let's say you're earning $1,700 for the month. You need to do a budget.
Yeah.
And it's wise to put pen to paper, because sometimes what you put in your head, you not remember.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
And then especially if you're, like I say, you have access to this ATM, and then you have this access via online, and you
Yeah.
have cash in your pocket, you just have to spend wildly.
Yeah.
So the idea is to put pen to paper, or because we have technology, or you have a tablet where you have on your information. We
Yeah.
have these amazing apps now where you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
track.
I
Track
was
Excel sheet,
going to
yes.
say,
You track your spending, but
Yeah.
the idea is to have it documented,
Yeah.
right? Have it documented, and then you look at what you're spending. So for this week, okay, based on the budget, I could spend so much for entertainment. I could take a leave there this week, or Marlene might want to do hair this week, or nails or something. So, but you're watching these spending habits, and,
Yeah.
but you stick to it, and you try to have it written
Yeah.
or documented.
So let's talk about how you said save money. This is the
Yeah.
key thing. So we're not telling people to go out and make more. That's always a good idea.
Yeah.
But let's try to figure out how we can save more out of what we're currently making. Right now, I am down to zero. I'm like single, double digits when I've paid my bills and done everything else. And I don't know where I'm going to find this money to save that you talk about.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is cut down on some of the things we are already paying
Yeah.
for. Where are
Yeah.
some of the areas that you find that people can make a saving, but they don't realize it
No,
until they
and
watch?
like we said, with the breakfast
Yeah.
and
Food.
just food
Yeah.
in terms of your groceries.
Yeah.
If you're someone who has to buy breakfast
Yeah.
and you have to buy lunch, again, that's like let's say $7 for breakfast and another $7 for lunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe sometimes for lunch it'll be 10. Right. So you're budgeting over $17 a day.
Wow.
Right. And then 5 times for the week.
Yeah.
So right there, again, by looking at your living expenses, watching how your spending habits,
Yeah.
you could cut down on where you are, and okay, maybe I can buy breakfast 5 times for the week.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe 2 times, 3 times for the week. Likewise, you might not, you wash your own hair.
Yeah.
I want to go to the salon, but I can't go every week, so maybe 2 times for the week you go to
2 times a month,
2
yeah.
times a month,
Yeah.
go to the salon and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But you're literally, like you say, based on that calculation, you're at zero.
Yeah.
Then you really need to look at where the money is spent, because it has to be going somewhere.
And it can be other bills too. I mean, if you know your your light bill goes
Yeah.
high or other things go high, maybe you need to be a bit more conscious around the house too to take it down.
Yeah, and
Grocery bills, that's one that
Yeah,
sneaks up
that's-
on you all
yeah,
the time.
yeah. But one of the items too, in terms of utilities, a lot of people have the bad habit of like brushing your teeth with the water on, or washing
Oh,
their
yeah,
hands with the water on,
Yeah.
or taking a bath with the shower just left on.
Yeah.
These simple things. I mean, yes, you might say, I just a leave well, but the leave well adds up on a daily basis.
a lot.
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the things where you can control and you look at, then you look at and you see where you can.
You could cut back.
Yeah.
Turn off the fan when you leave the home.
Yeah, exactly. You mean if you're into AC, you probably try to put it on low, or if you're trying
Or set a
upgrade.
timer. That's
Yeah.
one of the best things to do. Yeah.
And also like with the ACs, we have because of technology, you have the better ACs now with
Inverter,
inverter
yes.
technology. So you know, you try to get better equipment too. Likewise with the AC, likewise with your refrigerator.
Yeah.
So you make an investment to save.
Yeah, you see exactly. You see how
Yes.
you go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yes, you might do a high investment to buy that particular item, but down the road, you know, save you in
It's
terms
gonna
of
save
utility.
you. It's gonna save you.
You know.
All right. So that's it. Take a look at the bills that you are paying and see where you can cut down there. Cut down in use of electricity, water, and also pay attention to how much you're spending at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Those are ways that you can cut down the amount that you're spending each
Yeah.
time.
So that zero turns into a positive figure.
Positive figure, right? And also habits that you have, as you mentioned before, because it is. I am amazed that people don't always see it often enough. So you buy breakfast, you
Yeah,
buy
yes,
lunch.
yeah.
Even if you spend $5, right? $5 breakfast, $10 lunch. There's an
$3 snack.
afternoon snack somewhere in there. Let's not lie. I see the people moving around from office to
Where-
office.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
looking at anywhere from $15 to $20 a day,
yeah.
right?
In outside spending from
And we-
groceries.
That's
Yeah,
just, and
that's-
that's just that. We're not talking transportation yet from moving
that's
point A to point
Monday
B.
to Friday. That's
Yes.
$100.
It's $100 fuel going from work to
Yeah.
to and fro.
Then you have
And so-
gas.
And again, like same thing with transportation. I mean, some days you could walk depending how far you are from work.
Yeah.
You know, get up a little earlier. I mean, if it's in the summer season, then you don't have to worry about rain.
Yeah.
Likewise, you could catch a taxi or
Carpool
something.
too.
Yeah,
Carpool, use the city bus.
Yeah.
All of these
Yeah,
things can
yeah.
be done.
It's honestly, it's just a matter of looking at what you're spending, just your living expenses, and see
Yeah.
where you can find ways to save.
All right.
You know.
So tell us the other tips that you brought for us.
Yes. More tips.
All right. The biggest thing again is, we talk about saving first, watching spending habits, and then the thing is, with like for example, exercising. We start the new year, we into New Year's resolutions. So a lot of people want to lose a lot of weight when they gain during the Christmas eating with the ham and turkey, right? So like you have a little challenge among your friends and because as human beings we like to think in our groups, right? And it's sometimes hard to save on your own. So you have a little challenge with you, a couple of your friends or a couple of your family members and say, okay, make a try, each of us try to save $100 this month.
Yeah.
And you develop just a little group thing whereby, okay, what are you day? So you can check by each other, you can say, okay, where you are, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like as we enter a little world, we like challenges, so and the little group thing of having that, doing it together, or motivator for say, all right, make I stick to this because, my brother, look for my brother there, look for my sister there,
Yeah.
right? So doing things together and savings as an item, to doing as a challenge can help you and motivate you to continue save.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's a very good way whereby you challenge each other to save $20 probably a week, and once you put that 20 in that pot, then we know for a fact that if you miss, I'm gonna deduct you some. So I think that's a good way to start, which makes it happy spending or happy saving.
Yeah.
So I've seen this one before. This one that you could do with friends. Is this your?
No, this is like one of the popular challenges that they have.
That people do.
Alright, so
Yeah.
how does this? How
This
does this
is
work?
hard though. I gotta say that much because I remember I did it with coworkers here a few years ago, and I think some of us made it beyond the first month, and then a lot of people just dropped out very early.
So how does it work?
But
this is
the
very-
issue for the failure was because there was not a mandatory withholding of the money, right?
Maybe.
You had to
We had to
bring.
give it. Yeah.
You see, and again, that goes back to the first tip that if you have a salary deduction, then it's easier for you to continue and sustain the saving.
Okay.
Right? But with this one, it's a matter of each week you put a certain amount, and then you raise after each week based on a different interval.
Yeah.
But the idea is to look at a goal on a 1 year basis. In this case, well, for 52 weeks, so at the end of the year, then you say, bam, okay, this is where I am.
Yeah.
So for these challenges, the idea is to reach a target. Okay, so each everybody, this is what we try to look at. So bam, again, like same thing idea with the group activity whereby we come together and we motivate each other to say.
Wow.
And it's not that hard. I mean, if you can commit to it, because you're not
Yeah.
gonna go to a weekly payment of 40, wait till the end of the year. So it's gonna be it's gonna be manageable for a while.
Yeah. The idea is, like we said, talking about, like I said earlier, you look at your income versus expense and you're at zero, right? Again, the thing is that you always have to consider your budget. You consider what is your level of income, what is the level of living expenses, and then again, we look at what we want to allocate for savings and keeping that for saving.
Yeah. What I mean, I see people. I think that one of the things that people don't always think about too is perhaps living beyond what you can actually afford.
Yeah.
Car payments can be really expensive. Rent costs a lot for people. Mortgage payments can be draining.
Yeah.
And so they have all these responsibilities. And they don't necessarily take into account how much it's taking from them.
Yeah.
There is a number, I think, that you should have as a cap, and I think that's where the 50, 30, 20 comes
yeah,
from.
yeah.
That your expenses should not exceed 50% of what you make. Is that the
That's like the
thinking?
rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, 50%
Explain
is
that to us, because
Okay, like
I
for
don't know how
example,
much of us do that.
all right. Again, you look at your monthly income and you want to quantify exactly how much of this money is going to just expenses.
Yeah.
And if you try to again assess what is the percent, and then when you put things in terms of the percent, and again you document it, then you're able to see exactly where your money is going and how much of it is going to a particular category,
Yeah.
right? Again, when you do that and then you say, oh, okay, bam, whoa, 50% of my money is just the living expenses.
Yeah.
Then you need
Or
to see,
more
okay,
than that sometimes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and then no,
Some people
that's a
are
red
like
flag.
70%.
Yeah.
Right? And not because we're then you're talking at just we name considering liabilities, right? That chart we have earlier was just about the wants, the needs, and then the savings.
Yeah.
Then when you change the equation and in a new item in terms of your liabilities, because
Your
for the
emergencies.
and emergencies, right? Then that's when you change the whole picture of your financial position, right? And again, the thing is to document. I will always say that's one of the key. You try to document. Have your budget. Keep it on you when you're going shopping and that sort of thing. Not just
Yeah.
go loosely. And if you know you're going shopping, you try, even if you don't want to take it with you, you look on it before you go and you restrict yourself that, okay, I'm only going to this place.
Yeah.
You know, where I want to buy X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Or if it, and kind of again, one another, in terms of living expenses, one of the items is entertainment.
Yeah.
All right. Again, you have to know, well, how often can I go socialize for the month, right? You don't want to be socializing every week unless you can afford it,
Yeah.
right? So one of the things we look at the credit union is about personal development and personal growth. As I said earlier, we as a credit union prosper once our member prosper,
Yeah.
right? So depending at what stage of life you are, then we would advise you accordingly.
Yeah.
So let's say you're just fresh out of school, you're on your first job, then we could encourage you that you could save a little bit more and your living expenses can be high.
Yeah.
Because then you have no commitments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's understandable.
Yeah.
So like when you're just fresh out of school on your first job, then rent might be okay for you. You get a small place, nothing big.
Yeah.
You might considering getting your first vehicle because during that stage of life, you want to explore.
Yeah.
For me, I call it the Dora years because you're exploring.
Yeah.
If you want to travel, you're travel.
Yeah.
You know.
You
Move on.
should.
Yeah.
Yes, like between let's say 20 to 30. That's for me.
Yeah.
For yourself, you do your thing. You enjoy your money. So, and then again, like I said, in terms of your liability, it's okay. You could borrow a small loan for a car because then you have no financial commitments besides yourself.
Yeah.
And then one of the next thing we'd encourage you then, if you're at that stage in life and you don't really want to rent, stay home with the parents. If mama didn't push you out yet,
Stay with the
because
parents and save that money.
yes, exactly. That's part of savings, right? But we do tell them, when we do advise them that there will be different stages in life. You're just in the workforce. Okay, you could be loose in terms of your spending and not to be so restrictive. Again, then certain things like a vehicle is okay. That will be a priority.
Yeah.
Then bam, you pass. You didn't know different stage of life, 30 to 40. Now you're thinking about family, thinking about getting a
kids.
home. So now this is the way you go back to a budget again.
Yeah.
Right, and you watch your living expenses. You look at, like I said, the ratio. Now you might want to cut down some of the needs.
Yeah.
Cut
Cut
down
down
some
the
of the
entertainment.
wants. Yeah.
Cut down the movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then maybe when you're younger, you get a vehicle and man burn a lot of gas because that you want. You have no other responsibilities.
But keep in mind now, at that particular time, you should have had a great savings, being that
Yes.
you're living at home
Yes.
with your parents.
Yes.
You're not spending on any mortgage.
Yeah.
Yes, you use a certain amount for entertainment,
Yeah.
but you should have had.
So in this case, then we would encourage them to go beyond the 20%.
Okay.
Because at this stage, you don't have too many commitments in terms of your income. So maybe we push it to 20-40 in the beginning.
I'd say 40, yeah.
You know, guys.
2040 for savings.
So
In the
savings
beginning,
when
yeah.
you're in the beginning, when you're just, you know,
Yeah.
your first job, no commitments, no
Yeah.
friend, no
Because
children.
your needs, like your light bill, your water bill,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're at home, would have been taken care of. And even if you're living on your own, should be low. Yeah.
Minimal.
Yeah.
You know, so because for the most part you're at work, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
you know you get a small apartment for rent, so they rent. Let's say you do decide to move out and you want your own space, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what other tips do you have for us as well? We did the 50-30-20 formula, which you said
Solid.
is kind of just a basic place to start. Are there
Yeah.
any other things that people should take advantage of in how they save their money?
All right. The next thing is, again, you try to watch your bulk purchasing, right? The where you shop in terms of your clothes. Again, this goes to
Yeah.
your needs.
Yeah.
You watch where if you wait for the deals. All right. Let's say you know, depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
Right. You try saving and maximize on the discounts and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be honest, one of the competition now is online shopping.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
The amount of savings you gain from there is tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the local retailers might take the offense to the
But
competition.
there's still a need for it because
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go in and get things here. Or it's cheaper here as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
rather than paying shipping cost or
Yeah.
whatnot. But you can find deals online if
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what
Yeah.
you're looking for something specific.
Yeah, definitely. It also eliminates traveling abroad if you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to get that quality that you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one of the things that online shopping does. It does
Yeah.
save you
It-
some
it-
money.
and it is
But
changing.
be smart about it. That's the other
Yes,
thing.
yeah, you have to do your homework.
Yeah,
you
don't
know.
just buy it because it's cheap. I know we were talking. No, because there's this online clothing thing now that's
Yeah.
taking place, and you find these crazy cheap stuff. And I was talking to people who buy it, and it's one time wear, if no time wear, maybe, because
Yeah.
it looks nothing like what they're selling. So
Yeah.
you just wasted money.
So you gotta
if
be
you're
very
never going to
careful.
use it again, or if you can't even use it the first time, you've actually wasted money in
Yeah.
purchasing.
And that's one of the things like you talk about that one-time use.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, we're in the age whereby you're talking about recycle and
Yeah.
going green and different things. So you try to buy stuff where you can reuse,
Yeah.
right? And especially if you know you're someone who have different functions throughout the year, you know. I know, of course, with the guys, it's easy for us. We can always mix and match.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Right?
Good job.
Right, so-
Yeah.
So with the females, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
buy
Yeah.
a dress and not use it again. So we understand,
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow.
right?
All right.
But again, like I said, one of the saving tips is in terms of the bulk purchasing. You especially if let's say you're buying appliances,
Yeah.
right? You look. I mean, a big thing is Black Friday
Yeah.
and Cyber Monday,
Yeah.
right? So you wait for those times. Again, look at it. We have our own deals.
We have deals here.
right?
We have deals
Yeah.
here.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, they have like ranging from 90% to 25%.
Yeah.
So you watch for those events when
Yeah.
they're having those events.
But one of the things, and I know the time is not on our side, but one of the things some folks might say, you know what, I don't use the banking system. I prefer to just get my money when I make my earnings. I don't deposit it. I just save it under my mattress. What do you say to these
All right,
things?
I am surprised that people still do that. I'm sure that will be a minority
Yeah.
on the small side.
Minority reality.
Well, agree, and hopefully that percentage is like 10% and below.
With hope,
But
yes.
for those people who don't have that trust in the financial system,
Yeah.
we encourage them. I mean, for example, St. John's Credit Union has been around since 1946. We've been around since for 73 years. We have 4 locations. We have 2 in Billy City, 1 in Belmopan, and 1 in Dangriga.
Okay.
Again, is for ease of access for our members and our potential members.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the thing is to ensure that the money is there when they want it, right?
Yeah.
And for people, especially seeing around that they not trust, okay, what's going on with this person or that particular financial institution,
Yeah.
But again, you do homework. But for the person who is more laid back and prefers to see my money and have my money easily available, then come in and then make me go talk to and explain to you that, because if a fire goes up and you have a fire by chance, then that money is gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
So, and because we have different benefits with the
Yeah.
credit union, if you're
Yeah, and the money's not earning.
it's
It's
just
value. Yeah.
it's just sitting there, and then again, because you have access to it, you just slip your hand on a mattress and
Boom.
boom, you don't even know how much you take out, So It's not wise. I know it's the old school way of doing
Yeah.
things, but
I
you know,
really laugh back
since
then,
we're at
you know.
2020, you know, with a new decade, we could try new
No,
things.
but in fact, I think a lot of payments now are automatically into accounts now.
Yeah, I think-
so
I mean-
it's
I
really
mean-
becoming difficult to even work and not be
Yes.
able to get your deposit made
Yeah.
into a
We-
financial institution.
Yeah, we're at, sorry.
No, I wanted to touch on one thing before we run out of time. I think one of the things that when we talked about needs, it's needs, things that you have to pay.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about managing credit card debt, which can really consume
Yes.
people. We push.
Yes.
We know that a lot more people are doing online shopping, but that can easily become something that takes over quite a bit of the amount of payments you have to make.
Agree, and agree that's especially because of the technology and the online stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, you might get savings here,
Yeah.
but if you don't watch yourself, you might lose those savings in interest fees, late penalty fees,
Yeah.
and so forth. So one of the advice with credit card purchasing is that you always try to have the money available, so that as you put
Make
it to
that
your card,
purchase,
as you
yeah.
make that purchase, you come in and pay right away. And
Yeah.
or because again technology, we can do online
Transfer.
transfers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You transfer right away. But
So
again, the
use
credit
your
card
credit
is used.
more like a debit, but just that you put the
yeah.
money back immediately.
Yeah, because you are allowed once you pay it before the due date, then
Yeah.
you know there are no charges levied.
Borrowing from yourself too. That's
Yeah,
exactly what
right.
it is. You
Yeah.
borrow a little bit here and you put that back directly.
Right away,
Yes.
right away. And the thing is that it's just self-control. And like
Mm-hmm.
Marlene said with the credit card, that is very addictive. And one of the things again, try have one credit card, or if you have two, like what I do, I have one for local purchasing and one for international
International
purchasing.
purchasing.
So I can make no mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really a level of self-control, and then you discipline yourself.
All right, and just lastly, for the people who right now can't see a way to start their savings. I mean, does it matter if you start small?
Yeah. The main thing is come in just to start. And if you don't have that level of understanding, come into the credit union, any one of our locations. We will guide you, we'll give you advice on how to do it, and so that you start 2020 the right way.
Yeah.
All right,
2020
just
and
start. That's all you
Yeah,
need
just
to do. Once
start.
you start, it's something
Yeah,
versus not having anything at all.
That's right. Start
Neil-
2020 with that 20.
There you go. All right. So thank you so much, Neil, for coming in and just reminding us that developing that habit and changing our mindset to become savers, it takes a bit of change. It takes a bit of reflection on how you spend, but definitely worthwhile in the end. So thank you.
Thank you.
No
buddy.
problem. Thank you guys for having me.
We are going
Right.
to go ahead and take a break.
And when we come back, we'll be joined by Hannah Lynn. I'll tell you what, it's a foodie tour, and Hannah Cafe will be here with us. Thank you.
With over 100 years
lovely Wednesday morning foodie tour, huh? And this guy is in with us. This is Hanno Lin. Hanno, good morning.
Good morning, John.
And Happy New Year, sir.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to you guys and everybody.
French press coffee is what we're about to
Alright.
venture into. But Hanno, while the New Year is here, 2020 is here, tell us, what have you been up to?
Well, basically, the business is all about business.
Yeah.
Having like I trying to come up with all different ideas, and
Yeah.
of course with different trying utensils and all possible way to create coffee, make it tastier.
Yeah. How's it going?
Yeah.
Well, the business so far, I smell the growing.
No growth, huh?
Yeah.
It's growing while it brews.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, good. And so you said that you try to, I mean, we've had you use quite a number of techniques in
Yeah.
creating
Exactly.
coffee on the show.
Yes,
And
yes,
today I got to tell you, you're doing one of my favorites.
Oh, you
my
are?
absolute favorite.
French press.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
French press?
Yeah.
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 I've never tasted it.
It's just how you make the coffee.
Yes,
And
yes,
you
yes.
can go ahead and explain it. So what's the
well-
difference with a French press coffee versus any other type?
Okay, previously we have showing the siphon, the pour overs.
Yeah.
And this time is a French press. Well, basically the difference is all about like the body itself, the body of taste.
Yeah.
For example, if you were using the pour overs, more likely it will be a light bodies if you were having more waters towards it.
Yeah.
But French press itself will having a heavier bodies.
It's full, yeah.
Yeah, and then so you might drink a little bit, you feel like a bit powdery, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
For those people who like the deeper taste
The
of
taste
coffee,
of coffee.
then you
Yeah.
go with the French press.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
It does take some time and patience.
Exactly.
And some proper technique.
Yeah.
Okay,
we-
so where do we start? Now you offer this at your store, right?
yes, we do.
Okay, but you'll still show us how to do it, right?
Exactly.
Great.
You will be great to you know, to, basically
Oh,
the
that's cute.
the normal French press we have it in home. I would suppose is this type, right?
Yeah.
This one is just sometimes.
It's a smaller version.
Just bring it for for personal. If you want to just drink your personal cup,
Mm-hmm.
this could be the preference.
All right.
And this is so we call it the espresso press, but
Ah.
somehow it also is the theories about becoming a French press version.
Okay.
So you will having likely the espresso taste, but by using this technique here.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it's all manual here.
Yes.
today. And then this is also we call the traveling mug
Okay.
as French press. So this
Oh.
one is
French
more
press traveling
idea.
mug.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wherever you are, you want to make yourself
Yeah,
a
you
cup
showed
of
this
coffee.
the last time and I said I wanted
Yeah.
it for Christmas, but nobody gave me.
Oh, somebody have to stand up.
I
this
know.
time.
I don't think you bring this for me.
I could, I could work out with one.
All
But
right.
this is the traveling mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, basically I'm going to just give a bit of the hints about
Okay.
how to making those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's starting from the fundamental one,
Okay.
which is the. Yep, this is the most, like I saying, the basic type.
Yeah.
All right.
And for this size here, I recommend it. Usually, I mean, for making the French press, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
it will be around the ratios for 1 to 12. So
Mm-hmm.
1 ratios of the coffee powder with the ratio of the 12 waters
Okay.
towards it.
1 to 12.
1 to 12.
Okay.
All right, cool.
And so let's
First things first.
work it
I
out.
love that.
Bring the digital scale.
So,
Scale and everything.
are you
Wow.
going to measure the ground coffee or the
Exactly.
beans?
The ground coffee is
Okay.
ready. So
Oh, you ground it already?
yeah, because the show is
Yeah,
limited,
just
Yeah,
time, right?
yeah.
So we have to work it out. And so let's starting with the powder.
Okay.
So let's measure around 15 grams.
15 grams of coffee.
Do you always use the scale or do you have at least spoons that you use in your
Yeah, well, I want to be precise.
Okay.
I want to be like knowing what could be the best range to
Yeah.
serve a coffee.
Okay.
But of course, different person come with a different taste.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I could only just to determine what could be the deeper range if
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to drink the French press, or it
Alright.
could be the lighter range too.
Yeah.
So
Alright.
15 grams of powder.
Now tell us about the grind because that's important too.
The grind, I have it around the medium,
medium, yeah.
yeah. Sometimes you could, if you want to, it all depends on the roasting range too. For example, this one is around the light city range.
Okay.
So I grind it towards scale of close to 5.
Yeah. Let's show it here because what it doesn't look like is powder. It has. It's
some
a bit
graining,
bigger
some-
than
yeah, it's a
that.
bit
Yeah,
graining.
so that's a
Yes, yes, yes.
medium
Alright.
grind.
Uh-huh.
And you can do medium. Can you do finer?
I can do finer, but I assume this will penetrate through
Yep,
the
that's right.
the how you
sieve,
call the
okay.
safe. Yeah, so it will be too much powdered with
Yep.
drinking, and
Yeah.
it won't be a servable range. Okay. So let's do the water.
All right. So the water's on.
Water
Yes,
is
it's
on.
already
All right,
on.
there you go.
I already preheated, and the temperature of the waters, I will suppose to have it within. I usually use Celsius, but I convert it to 95
Fahrenheit?
degree Celsius to Fahrenheit is around 202.
202 degrees
Yeah.
Fahrenheit.
Yes, yes. That's
Cool.
what's the temperature that I'm using for this. All right. So
So we want it hot.
exactly.
And if you're at home and you're trying it boiling hot,
Maybe less boiling.
less than
boiling,
boiling.
okay.
Okay.
Less than boiling. So this one is less than boiling here, and then let's do it.
And that was 15 grams of coffee. And you said how much water?
Around 280. Okay, so let's starting like this, and then just trying to stir a bit, and the time.
That is just.
Of course.
The time is also the key to how you're making the coffee too. So let's starting with the first set as in 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Let it
to set.
soak.
Okay.
Yeah, let it set and
Yeah.
then let it expand the smell, aromas. Yeah,
Goodness.
that's how it is.
There are a lot of technicalities to doing a French press.
Well, this is the correct way. I got to be honest. I can't wait that long.
All right.
But the grind, I do. It's very important.
will be
That's
very
one of the
important
first
too.
things.
Yep. Okay, stir a little bit, and then let's starting with the next set of the water to pour in. Because it's a small cup, I usually introduce water 3 times.
Okay.
But
Oh,
this
wow.
is, since it's just a small French press,
Yeah.
it will be just double time.
Okay.
Right? So, all right, let's do it.
Smell
All
that.
right, once again,
Smell it.
You even have a pouring technique.
have to
Yeah.
be circling. So we're making sure that the water has been hit to the coffee powders evenly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then center it, and then we open.
All right.
Nice.
I love it.
All right. So once
Now you
again,
stir it?
Stir a bit
Yeah.
again. Okay. Let it set for 3 minutes.
That's
3
right.
minutes.
Yep.
set. All right.
And
Sounds
then we
good.
press it
So
down.
it's like brewing on its own right
Exactly,
now. The flavor
exactly.
from the grind is coming out.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
so-
with the heat of the water, it's actually extracting that taste, that proper flavor. It's a French press. You know, I can't wait, right?
Of course.
And it's your fault, by the way. That's a good thing.
I am not responsible for anybody's actions but my own.
Maybe it comes to me.
Yeah, yeah.
my fault.
I don't want to-
So, Hannah, while we're waiting for that 3 minutes, what else can we find at your Hannah's Cafe? That
Once again,
yeah.
the location will be 3674 Blue Marlin Drive.
Yeah.
That's where.
It's a little purple building
Exactly.
near near Belize Healthcare Partners.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
But if I'm not a coffee drinker, but people have been talking about it, that you've got some good treats, what are some of the treats we could find there?
The treat there will be we have the frozen drink, which is, well, if you don't like heavy coffee, of course we could make it into some frozen coffee drink that is favorable. And also we have the tea drinks too. Variety tea from Taiwan, and of course in all around like chai, like the matcha from Japan, and also some of the ginseng tea from Korea too.
Nice. You do matcha just on its own? Matcha is a green tea.
Yes.
It's a very potent, very healthy tea.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
So
That's-
how do you make your matcha?
Well, I have the matcha ingredients. shipped
Okay.
in. Yeah, then basically I made it because it's already come with the powdery form.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then basically we stir with the hot water, but somehow you don't go with the heat water.
Yeah.
Not too heat.
Yeah.
And usually we use a brush to brush it through when you would introduce the water in. You use a brush to stir it
Yeah.
instead of using the stick.
Yeah.
Because it will make the powder dilute faster.
Okay.
Yeah, and evenly distributed too.
Nice.
What about cakes? Or I noticed we've got 3.
Oh, yeah.
Got some
This
food
is
here that smells
also
delicious.
One of our top selling cake in our store. That's the strawberry swiss roll. Yep, and that's one of the.
Because it's so pretty too. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
just
lovely.
cake on a
Looks
plate.
Yep. That's one of the way we are trying to serve, and then we're trying to make it. I mean, like, and the taste itself go along with different sense. You go with the vision, you go with the taste of the town, and then you go with the smell. All sense have to go along, work along together.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
All right, looks good.
So we got desserts. Those are available.
Yep, that's available from our store as well.
And then we've got some food.
And yes, that's one of the new production we're trying to come up with. Normally we serve dumpling, we serve spring roll, those traditional dishes. But somehow today I'm trying to, bring everybody back to the base, which is the chow mein. Yeah. And by the way, we are serving the vegetarian and vegan food in our store.
Okay.
Only.
Yeah.
Yeah, because to my vision is that we also trying to give everybody a way to understand what's the value for eating the vegetarian food.
Vegetarian and
Yeah.
vegan.
This
Yeah.
is vegetarian?
Exactly.
Okay, I figured as much, yeah.
Ingredient we introduce is vegetarian.
Yeah. This is tofu?
It has the soy.
The soy.
Yeah,
okay.
we having the soy ham to stir and then to fry together. Yeah. So it's all about vegetarian, but somehow it's well seasoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
Good too.
Oh, it smells great. I'm glad you're closer to that. But I'm fine next to the
all right,
coffee
I
too.
guess the time is about
Just
to
about
serve.
3 minutes, yes.
Yes, about 3 minutes. So let's press it down.
Oh, that's an easy press.
Yep. So beauty about the French press, it won't be too much process, and you still be able to wake up late and you'll be able to prepare your cup before you hit the work.
Yeah. No, I gotta say, I do mine on the weekend. It takes a bit too much more time.
Maybe I'm a coffee shop owner, so I don't feel that way. So let's do
Press coffee.
a little bit taste about it.
So how do you explain to people? So this one is full-bodied. We have the pour-over, which is a bit lighter, and then you have
Exactly.
percolated.
Yeah.
And you also did the siphon as well,
Yes,
I
exactly.
believe. So how would you explain the range of flavors that you're getting?
Basically, I will explain the same way how I just explained. Basically, I have to let them understand that different utensils bring along with different bodies.
Okay.
Yeah, the body is the key to it, and then it's basically how well you want to drink it.
Yeah.
But everybody have their own preferences.
Yeah.
But
So it's almost like wine, like you're going full-bodied to lighter
the
bodied. Yeah.
yes, and the range of the roasting too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
depending, true.
Exactly.
So the most full-bodied coffee that you'd offer would be which one?
The full body one, which is the heavy body mint, right? It will be, of course, definitely the French press
Press.
and the manual espresso press.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be a heavy body.
And then?
And then I will go along with the what you call the siphon.
Okay.
Yeah, siphon. It also tend to be a bit powdery, but can compare it to this one here
Yeah.
for sure. And then we go into the pour overs.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, coffee language is what we're talking here.
Yeah. So which one do you think you'd like more?
Honestly, I'm heavily anticipating the French press. I've never tasted espresso, never ever. So I'm looking forward to this French press.
Okay, sure. So let's.
Go ahead.
Let's
Okay.
do it. Let's do it.
And of course, sugar. Somebody
Yeah.
will like to drink just the plain. Somebody go with the sugar.
Yeah, I'm
right?
plain.
All right.
I've
Yeah.
learned about plain from her, so
Oh,
I
okay.
drink it plain.
You
as
do?
well.
I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get out the
I'm
sugar.
one of the
sugar in
people
it.
who
I
actually
didn't even-
like the taste of coffee. Yeah.
I've
Some
tried it
people
with
like-
sugar, but it's not too good with sugar. I guess I don't spoil it. You know?
I see. I see. I mean, not just you. I sometimes spoil myself too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just having a sip.
So do you best recommend it, especially French press with or without the sugar?
I always suggesting without. But like I saying, sugar is the best thing to introduce to coffee because somehow it's bitter and it might be acidic. But somehow, if you were using a little bit sugar, it actually mild down the taste of it.
Yeah, a little brown sugar sometimes
Yeah.
isn't bad. I've already accustomed to the taste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With no sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
let's
let's
do
dive
it.
on in.
Here you go.
Welcome to French press coffee. You smell it, right? It just smells so strong.
All right. So should we stir it like you're stirring it? Because
Well,
you're the
just
pro?
to make it like I saying evenly because this too powdery and you don't want to just let the powder sink
Settle
on
to the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. My first time.
Go ahead.
Right.
This is good.
It's
I see no big deal with it. Yeah. You know,
Is there any major difference that you taste?
from what we would normally do here.
Yeah, so you had coffee
there's a big
before
difference.
this from a percolator.
Yes, I did. So for me, the smell of this one, it does have a great flavor.
Yeah.
It's not bitter.
It is not.
No.
It's not bitter.
No.
So this is perfect without sugar for me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
This
great.
is good. This is good.
Glad John like it too.
And you got the little taste that it's like a fine powder that you may
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Delicious.
It's
Right,
not too
thank
hot.
you.
It's just perfect. Like you could take a sip without having to worry of get burnt.
Yeah.
No, it's good for me. I really
I
like
like the
it. I like
description for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
it.
So,
Wow.
Hano, tell us about what are some of the popular things at the store?
And the popular things, well, basically, most of people go for the frozen drink.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I saying, I trying to use not just about the powder coffee, but everything starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And so it won't be just a like a basic cold drink or frozen drink.
Yeah.
But more likely, it will be something like people will taste the actual coffee inside.
Yeah.
And that's the keys towards my business. I want to introduce not just about the drink, but heavily rely on the actual taste of the coffee itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for example, people would like the frappuccino in my store, might like the caramel macchiato, the frozen one. I mean the cold one in my store too. It's actually there's a lot of people who like about this drink here.
Yeah, the sweet one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Excellent.
And you have a loyalty system too? You have
Yes.
loyalty cards?
We do
Yeah.
have. I haven't get a chance to bring it, but I do have a loyalty card with the credit stamp every time you purchase too. And so 9 times of purchase, you will be able to redeem yourself with the new drink, which is free. And
So you buy 9, you get the 10th one free.
Yep.
It's
yep.
very nice. Very nice.
That
That's
keeps the
what I
people
try.
coming back, right? They want that free one?
We do have a royalty wall as well. Just trying to have people's card on the board and then to see how you could keep tracking of your credits and you don't have to you won't be forgetting your card all the time.
So do you have a lot of daily clients that are in there like everyday customers?
We do have like not every day, but close enough.
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 times in a
You're
day.
gonna see them and you know exactly what they want.
Yes, like when I see their face, this is for coming for the espresso,
Yeah.
and that one is coming for the French press, whatsoever. Like you could determine already,
Yeah.
or not even just seeing the person, but by seeing the vehicle, you could already told what he coming for.
I'll tell you what, one of the things I like about being inside Hano Cafe, it's a perfect space for conversation while taking a nice sip of good old coffee.
Yeah.
Excellent. I've been there.
So much.
And you have your food for takeout?
Yes, that's
Yeah?
the takeout food.
I love your takeout boxes.
Once again, we're trying to go like a bit environmental friendly once
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
And traditional.
And traditional. So this is my food box for this. Keep coming this 2020. Everything we're trying to be as friendly, economic, and
Okay.
friendly environmentally.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
So that's your chow mein?
Yes, actually, my chow mein is a bit different than the others.
Okay.
We have the noodle and the ingredients separate.
Oh!
Really?
Yes.
So you put them together after?
Oh, Oh,
So-
so we just get the noodles,
So we
and
get
then
the
that's what
noodle,
you're gonna
and
add.
then you add it.
I was wondering.
So we're gonna showing here
All
as
right,
well.
Tano, you're the hideout power man. Come on.
Like I saying, it's something new. I trying to
right,
show.
So
the
why'd you
movies
decide
here.
to do it this way?
Okay.
Hannah, why'd you decide to package them separately?
Well, because to my ideas, most of the time when we do every fry together, it will turn out to be that the taste will be running off if we place it too long. The taste of it will be, to me, won't be the same.
Yeah.
It won't be the same. But if you separate them and then just
you dip in when you-
dip in
yeah.
and then stir by yourself,
Yeah.
you will still get to taste the actual taste of the noodle itself.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so-
the actual taste of the.
And the
Yeah.
ingredients too. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay,
All
so
right,
let's
set
do
it
it.
up, Hano.
So you go ahead
Right.
and mix if you want.
So let's do it. The noodles, right?
People aren't used to seeing their chow mein like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Not all the time.
All the time. All right.
But if you love
Alright.
chow mein, you definitely want to try it that way. And your noodles, how have they been prepared?
Yes, it's already prepared,
Yeah.
and then it's the yellow noodle that we're using more. And then here it goes with the vegetables.
Sweet.
Right?
I tell you.
And the sauce, right? You don't go without the sauce. If you just want to eat your noodle, it won't be that much of the taste. All right, here we go.
And there you have it.
There you have it.
So
Chopstick.
people would, if they order it, they're gonna get a box of noodles and they're gonna
Exactly.
get a separate box with.
Basically, we will try to pour it just in the top, and
Okay.
then so when they receive it, they just gonna. do
Okay, they
it.
just gotta mix it up together.
Okay. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
And there you have it, chow mein a la Hano.
No.
Yeah.
All right, and what others? You have lunch, you have snacks, you have
Exactly.
what else?
And also we trying to starting up our breakfast schedule
Okay.
as quick as possible too, because I
Hano, it
believe
means
that
earlier mornings for you.
I'm trying to serve those people who have to wake up early
Yeah.
in the morning
Yeah.
to hit their office
Yeah.
very early, and then without having their time to prepare their first cup of coffee.
Yeah. You
So-
can just come on over to Hano's
Exactly. Let me do the work for you guys.
Cafe. Vegan and vegetarian
Exactly.
breakfast,
Exactly.
lunch.
Uh-huh.
All right. Cool.
And how do people get in touch with you? Tell us.
Okay, we also have the contact numbers, and also with the Instagrams and the Facebook too. So you
Alright.
could message me through the different social apps,
Okay.
and also I have my phone numbers in the website too. I mean the social medias too.
Pages.
Well,
Yes.
thank you for coming in
Thank you.
and
Excellent.
preparing for us and showing us how to properly prepare a
Alright.
French press coffee. Thanks, Hano. Once again, he is in Belize City. You can get menu items like this, the vegetarian chow
Chow
mein.
mein, yeah.
You have desserts like the cake that he brought as well.
Exactly.
You have a wide variety of coffees available and teas.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
too.
Hannah.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to go ahead and take that final break now. When we come back, we'll have our wrap up, so stay tuned.
With over 100
we're back.
Just like that, we are coming to the end. Actually, we're at the close of our show for today. It has been a wonderful time. We started a conversation this morning with the Charge d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Belize, of course, in the Garden City. It was an excellent conversation of U.S. international relations. That was something to learn from.
Absolutely. We want to thank you for coming in and being able to help us understand the U.S. perspective on what's happening with Iran, relations with Belize, and other issues as well. We also want to thank Neil from St. John's
Neil
Credit
Wade,
Union for talking to us about how to save money. I think a lot of people set out financial goals, and it can seem really difficult to start, but I think you really gave us some useful tips. Some of those included do salary deductions for savings. That's one way to make sure the money goes out of your salary before you touch it. Put it in an account that you don't have as easy access to, so it's going to be more work to go and break into your savings. And you know, look at what you are spending and where you can cut back on that spending.
Definitely.
Whether it's buying food every single day or 3 meals for the day, or you know, whatever it is that you may do that's just really draining on what you're making.
Definitely. So thank you so very much, Neil Wade. And a big thank you to Hannah Lynn. This guy, man, went from singing sensation on KTV to having his own, and dancing, to having his own business. And this is the reason why we tell you that if you're about to venture off into entrepreneurship, then why not take a little page from him? The guy is good. Hano Cafe, thank you so very much. As we learned and tasted the French press, which was a first for me.
Yeah, and definitely, I think, you know, if you like coffee, it's definitely something you should try. I think everybody has their own preference as to what they like. So try it out. Maybe it's the one that you'd like the most. And you can do so at Hano's Coffee Shop on Blue Marlin Avenue in Belize City, right?
Yep, you could always go there and find out exactly what he's got to offer. Speaking of having what we've got to offer, we offered to you today 3 wonderful conversations, but we've got to go. So if you've got any questions, any concerns, drop us a line. We're at oye@channel5belize.com.
You can also contact me at Marlene_OYE at channel5belize.com. Find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYE Belize. And remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
To start your morning right. As per usual, keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.